This is Akashvani. Time for a weekly program, Our Guest.
Prayagraj is the venue of the Mahakumbh that comes once every 144 years. The host of Our Guest is stationed there to bring in exciting interviews for our listeners. Over to Nitish Arora as he meets and records the guest for today's program.
Prayagraj is the place where a sea of humanity has descended upon for the Mahakumbh. The influx of pilgrims is refusing to ebb, and the wave after wave is reaching from various places of not only India but from abroad as well. In our guest program, this whole month of February, we are presenting to you the essence of Mahakumbh in the form of a series entitled Voices from Mahakumbh. I feel happy to introduce to my listeners to Nick Booker, a British historian who has become popular on social media, known as Endogenous on Instagram, for his post on places of historical significance of India. Nick was at Prayagraj for the Mahakumbh. He is originally from Britain, and I can say that very much Indian now because he is here in India for the last 17 years.
Fir bhi dil hai Hindustani. Namaskar. Great to be here.
Welcome to Akashvani and Kumbh. What attracted you to Kumbh? And I understand that you made a model of Kumbh in sand on a Goa beach. That was when?
This was on New Year's Day. So this is how I began the year. I was thinking about the Mahakumbh Mela at Prayagraj and trying to understand the space. And I wanted to teach my daughter, who's 9 years old, and also some of our friends, exactly how this Triveni Sangam is formed, why this space is so important from a geographical, geological perspective, and then to map onto it all of the extraordinary spiritual, psychological, ritual, mythological, historical onto that space. And what better than making a physical representation using sand castles?
That's great. And what was the reaction of the normal beachgoers?
Curiosity. So people kept on. So we actually took a couple of days because how do I get the rivers of Ma Ganga and Ma Yamuna to flow down from my little Himalaya replication? So the water kept on sinking into the sand, so I had to make the channels using recycling and reusing plastic sheets. And people were curious, people were interested, and that got them thinking about Kumbh Mela, got them thinking about Prayagraj and this extraordinarily important place. Probably in some ways the most important place on earth.
And how did your daughter react to your model?
She loved it because it's a thing that's physical, that's playful. You know, it's a great kind of way to learn and engage with.
So did she actually know what is the importance of Kumbh?
Yes, she did. But then the next day, we created a virtual representation of the solar system. What I wanted to do is, having tried to demonstrate how the space of Mahakumbh Mela and the Triveni Sangam is laid out and why it's so important, I then wanted to represent the time. And of course, there are 3 calendars which are all synchronizing and converging. So the first one is the biggest one, is Jupiter. So this is the 12-year cycle of Jupiter around the sun, meant that it was moving across the sky through the Rashis. And when Jupiter is in Taurus, everyone knows in India, that is the time to go to Prayagraj, because that is the time of the Kumbh. But then you need to know what time of year. And how do you know that? Well, that is when the sun enters Makar, Capricorn. So you have a second calendar, which is the usual one-year solar calendar. So when Jupiter Brihaspati is in Vrishab in Taurus, and when Surya is entering Makar, we have Makar Sankranti. This is really important. There is a third cycle, and that is, of course, the lunar cycle. And the lunar cycle is 27 to 29 days, and we go from Amavasya to Purnima. And the key Amavasya is the Moni Amavasya, the silent new moon.
Started on the 1st of this year at a beach in Goa when you were making a model of it, and then ultimately landing up in Prayagraj for Makar Sankranti. What was the experience? The real and the made one which you made at Goa. So how did this Sangam came, and what was your reaction to be there?
I became a Tirthyatri. We got to Prayagraj and we had to walk with the crowds some way. And we then group of us were together. Some people were arriving on different ways. And we decided the most important thing for us to do on that night, Pursh Purnima, which was the incredibly auspicious day 0. So the actual Mahakumbh Mela begins on Makar Sankranti. But this year, very unusual, very special, Pursh Purnima was the day 0. So that supercharged the Makar Sankranti Amrit Snan. So we decided to head out on foot, and we were awake for 36 hours without sleeping.
36 hours?
Yeah, and we walked for 25,000 steps, and I think we were on our feet non-stop for at least 12 hours. And that was so that we could get into the Sangam tent city, it's sometimes known. So we were able to get in there maybe 10 o'clock in the evening. And then at about 2 in the morning, we were able to enter the Sangam nose. And we were right in there just before it got closed off because of it had reached capacity. We were able to take a snan at 4 in the morning. We were in Brahma Muhurat closely. We were then able to stay there as the Akaras, I think Mahaniranjani and Atal Akara were the first Akaras that come. So we were there on the front row of the crowd as police obviously cleared the procession pathway, the Marg, and then the Akaras came in for their extraordinary Shahi Amrit Snan as the sun rose on Makar Sankranti. And we were right there.
Oh, how lucky you were.
Unbelievably lucky. And we knew we were lucky the whole time. There was a sense of joy. I mean, obviously there's the word anand, bliss. But taking that snan, the energizing, incredibly powerful. The devotees, the Tirthyatris, the passion, the belief, I very much felt part of that from my heart. And we took that snan, and then you come out of the water supercharged. And in that particular snan, that night, it was a sense of real bliss, of real joy. And that has stayed with me ever since. And then we were there watching these Akaras, and they're obviously the Naga Sadhus, their passion, this is their moment. And they've been waiting for this for 12 years.
Absolutely. So you walked for 36 hours, they are walking for 36 years for this particular movement. Yeah. So let's rewind the clock a little.
Which one? The moon, the sun, or the Jupiter?
Your life clock?
Yeah.
So when were you first introduced to this concept of Hinduism, the concept of Kumbh? When did this first came to you? And then you started digging up more on this.
So I came to India when I was 26 years old, I think.
That was in the year?
That was in the year, gosh, you're going to work out my age now, 2007. Do the maths. So I had not been aware of Kumbh Mela in any detail. I am sure I will have seen images, as I think almost everyone on planet Earth has seen, of this extraordinary festival, Mela. So I'm sure growing up a BBC News at 10 or something would have said, in India, at Prayagraj. I heard Mark Tully talking about it on Radio 4. He wrote a beautiful book on Kumbh Mela.
Yes.
Mark Tully has spent many Kumbhs. He's really immersed himself. So it must have been slight on the peripheries of my awareness that this was an extraordinary, phenomenal event that took place in India. However, I knew nothing about the details. And you know what? I've done a lot of watching YouTube. In the last few months, I've been trying to find as many documentaries as I can about Mahakumbh Mela, and I haven't found any of them that come even close to capturing the scale, the passion, the devotion, the normal Tirthyatris from all over India, their stories, their kind of from the heart, what it means to them, the sense of what it's really like in the Akaras with the Naga Sadhus. Nothing can prepare you for what it's like to actually be there in person.
But this is so deep-rooted and such, it's really the scale is so massive that it is very difficult for anybody to actually portray it on a YouTube channel or anything, because we are running this channel for all the almost 40 days, and every time a new story, new people are coming, and we still feel that, we are only touching the shore.
Yes.
It's so deep.
Glimpses. But your listeners are very lucky that you're doing this for such a long time throughout the Kumbh, because they must keep listening to this program, because they will be constantly, like you're saying, hearing different perspectives. And like that Jain story of Anakantavad, not one-sidedness, the story of the parable of the blind men and the elephant. Mahakumbh Mela is the elephant. I am but one blind man touching one part of the elephant, and your other guests will be touching other parts.
Are you also planning to post some more stories on Insta?
Of course, yes.
Kumbh? And do you actually think that you are going to reveal the entire truth to the people as you are struggling to find it out?
It's impossible. There is no single person that can possibly, it's too vast. But I think there are certain ways that you can highlight two axes of a three-dimensional mental map that we must all have. One is space and the other one is time. And space is, the geography, the layout, the place, not just the sectors and the akaras and the location of the Sangam itself and the rivers, but also how that fits in with the whole of North India and the whole of the subcontinent, the whole of Asia, the whole of the imagination of humanity. So the space aspect. And then there's the time. And the time is both the cosmic, if we go back to the Samudra Manthan, if we go to the Prithvijaya Jaganam, the story of the creation of the separation of Bhuv, Bhuva, Swaha, actually happening at Prayagraj. There's all kinds of Puranic stories where they are demonstrating the importance of this place. In the Mahatmya, in the Tirtha Mahatmyas, Padma Puranas, Matsya Purana. And there are different stories at different times. And there is emphasis on different elements of the story and different parts. So Akshayavat, the everlasting banyan tree that is on the corner of the Sangam in the fort, which I've seen. Or I've seen the one that they say is Akshayavat and there's stories. Then Samudrakup, the well of the ocean, which is the ocean beneath the earth, which is saline water at the bottom of this incredibly deep well. Nag, Vasuki, and the Samudra Manthan story, which is a beautiful temple on the top of a hill, about halfway up the Sangam city. Pratisthana, Junsi, Ultakila, the fort that turned upside down in an earthquake, place where Yudhisthira and the Pandavas came. Ram coming to visit sage Bhardwaj. Alakapuri on the south side, what is now Arail. There's Veni Madhav Mandir, which, you have to go there to confirm the benefits of the snans. And there's so many layers. It's all going on. And then there's the kind of contemporary, how on earth is the government of India and the government of Uttar Pradesh managing to maintain and organize this extraordinary event in terms of the security, the sanitation, the crowd management, the scale of complexity and the stories of the people part of that, from the police to the hotels, tourism. Yeah, it's incredible.
It's immense. So you're taking these stories back home also. How is this particular Mahakumbh taken by the average Briton when they see your stories on Instagram or you post it there? How do they look at it? I mean, are they all not amazed and all of them want to come? And I'm sure that Uttar Pradesh can have them all here and they won't mind it coming. And a population of Britain can also come. Not an issue.
So let's hope foreigners with the right open minds do come and enjoy it. There are certain things which I think people are hesitant to really go into. If they see a crowd of several million people, they don't think, I want to run to the front of that. But I do think that the foreigners that are sitting for satsangs, that are practicing sadhana, tapasya, kalpavasi, there's a lot of foreigners that are incredibly, genuinely from the heart committed to Sanatan Dham and the opportunity that Mahakumbh Mela has for them to be with a guru, meet a guru, find a guru. There's no doubt that this is pulling people from all over the world as well as India.
Friends, once you put his name on his social media, you'll find that he's an historian. And the first thing that I asked him, are you a historian? He said, I'm not. Now, reveal yourself also. You have revealed a lot of Kumbh to our listeners.
I'm just curious and grateful. I'm heading back to Prayagraj on Mahashivratri. And the whole atmosphere changes day to day, depending, the weather, the crowd, the importance of the day. It's constantly evolving. I can't wait to get back, and I hope to see you. See you at the Sangam.
Yes, please do visit us there also, and we'll directly be in touch with our listeners from the studios that we have there, the Kumbhavani studio. Thank you so much, Nick, for being here, and keep on doing those lovely little stories.
If you are on social media, then Indogenius, INDOGENIUS, you are the Indogenius. Mahakumbh Mela is the Indogenius. I'm just trying to share what beautiful experiences I have of the genius of India. And I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be sharing lots over the coming week.
He is into lot of India and he's exploring it for you also. But I think that should also fire a lot of Indians to understand India. Nick, thank you so much for being our guest. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You were listening to the weekly program Our Guest that is broadcast every Monday at 9:15 a.m. Don't forget to tune in next week, same day, same time and same frequency for more on Our Guest. Have a nice day.